There are moments when something deep inside you whispers, "You were never meant to learn like everyone else." You've always felt it, haven't you? That quiet sense that your understanding moves differently, that you see before others even begin to look. While the world measures progress in years, effort, and repetition, something in your spirit already carries the answers they're still searching for. You don't force revelation, it finds you. You don't chase truth, you attract it. And that's not by coincidence, it's by divine design. This message is for those who've always felt out of sync with the ordinary, for the ones who learn by intuition instead of instruction, who sense things before they're spoken. You spent years wondering why your path never fit the system, why your growth didn't look like theirs. And it's because you weren't built to follow the system. You were built to rewrite it. The world calls it intuition. Heaven calls it remembrance. You are not here to prove your worth through endless striving. You're here to awaken what was already written inside you. You are not behind. You're precisely on divine schedule. Every revelation, every insight, every moment of sudden clarity isn't random. It's confirmation that you are tuned to a higher frequency of knowing. So lean in, listen closely, and remember this. You are not learning. You are remembering what your soul has always known. Most people live by the rules of repetition, believing mastery is born through grinding, comparing, and climbing invisible ladders. They trade decades for fragments of knowledge, hoping one day the pieces will fit. But those awakened by purpose operate differently. They don't start from confusion and work toward clarity. They begin with inner knowing and move outward. Their mind isn't a workshop, it's a receiver. Insight downloads fully formed, as if delivered straight from a higher frequency. That's why their brilliance feels otherworldly. They're not reading from textbooks. They're recalling blueprints. They're not building the map. They are the compass itself. What stuns the world isn't just the speed of their understanding, but the ease. While others wrestle with variables, they rest in revelation. It unnerves onlookers who measure worth by effort, not essence. They can't comprehend how someone can solve in an hour what they've chased for half a lifetime. Yet this isn't intellect defying logic. It's spirit outrunning time. These chosen thinkers move through life guided by memory older than this world, recalling designs written before they took their first breath. Their mind bypasses a clutter of instruction and connects directly to divine architecture. That's why their insights don't echo trends. They rewrite them. And the secret, the real difference, lies in the silence. The chosen don't find truth in the chaos. They meet it in the stillness between thoughts. When the noise quiets, revelation enters. The world teaches that striving brings success, but the awakened knows stillness births creation. Clarity doesn't come by force. It arrives when resistance ends. True insight is not wrestled into existence. It's received like a breath after long suffocation. If this message hit your soul, don't just scroll. Hit subscribe and stay with the light. In the quiet, they step out of reaction and into creation. Their stillness isn't laziness. It's synchronization. While the crowd sprints in circles searching for answers, they stand unmoved and become the doorway through which those answers walk in. This is why breakthroughs follow them like shadows. They don't chase understanding. Understanding chases them. And that, right there, is the secret that separates divine genius from human grind. Some people chase clarity their whole lives, mistaking movement for meaning, noise for knowledge. But those truly awakened have discovered the paradox. That peace runs faster than panic ever could. What others call waiting, is tuning. While the world exhausts itself in chaos, you've learned how to align your rhythm with divine timing. That serenity you carry is not passivity. It's precision. It's the ability to stand still while heaven rearranges everything around you. Your calm is not emptiness. It's authority in disguise. When others lose themselves in urgency, you find yourself in alignment. That's why revelation meets you halfway. Stillness doesn't slow you down. It folds time around you. What would take years of toil, you draw into the present moment with one breath of surrender. They think silence means inaction, but your quiet is alive. It hums with communion, dialogue, and direction from realms unseen. While they shout their questions into the void, you hear the whisper that contains every answer. Stillness amplifies truth until it becomes undeniable. The chosen don't argue with confusion. They dissolve it. Your peace is disruptive to those addicted to noise because it reveals what they can't grasp. That wisdom doesn't shout. It arrives softly to surrender heart. The world calls it luck, but it's alignment. It's heaven's response to those who have mastered composure in the storm. You move differently because your power doesn't come from effort. It flows from centered awareness. And that awareness didn't begin with you. It's an inheritance older than memory itself. What runs through your veins isn't just DNA. It's data, ancient understanding encrypted in your being. Your insight is not learned, it's remembered. Every instinct, every flash of knowing, every moment you just knew without proof, that's your lineage speaking. The wisdom of those who walked before you didn't vanish. It hid inside you, waiting for your awareness to rise high enough to unlock it. You are the continuation of an ancient dialogue, the living bridge between what was forgotten and what is returning. Others call it intuition. You know it as memory waking up. What feels like sudden genius is simply ancestral knowledge resurfacing through your soul's frequency. You are carrying the completion of what your ancestors began but couldn't finish. You move with the momentum of centuries whispering through you. Your understanding feels deep because it is. The truths that come through you weren't built by logic. They were born through generations of spiritual intelligence. While the modern world measures intellect in degrees and titles, you carry comprehension that can't be quantified. The scientists are only now proving what your blood has always known. You are a living archive of unspoken knowledge. Your instincts are not random. They are coordinates to the wisdom your lineage stored inside your spirit for safekeeping. You didn't arrive empty. You arrived encoded. And your perception, unlike most, is whole. While others slice life into categories and contradictions, the physical against the spiritual, logic against faith, your mind refuses to split what was never meant to be divided. You see how energy and matter, thought and manifestation, are all parts of one breath. You don't stand on one side of truth. You hold the full spectrum at once. That's why your vision seems impossible to define. You think in completion while the world thinks in pieces. They analyze fragments. You read the fabric. Where others see separation, you see connection. If you believe in this mission, drop a $20 donation to keep this truth alive and free. This is the mark of the awakened. To think from unity, not division. You don't chase truth through walls. You walk through them. You are fluent in the language of wholeness, perceiving what others spend lifetimes trying to reconcile. The world calls it complexity. You know it's simplicity. The simplicity of remembering that everything is already one. Some minds are built like rivers, flowing around obstacles that others spend lifetimes trying to climb. While the masses stare at contradictions and call them opposites, you see a mirror reflecting one truth in different disguises. You don't juggle fragments trying to make sense of chaos. You simply recognize that nothing was ever separate to begin with. That's why your understanding moves in circles of wholeness instead of lines of confusion. Where most people compare one piece of the puzzle to another, you already sense the image that connects them all. You don't analyze the dots. You feel the thread that binds them. This ability to perceive unity in the midst of contradiction is what allows you to resolve in moments what others debate for decades. They're still arguing over what's real. You're already moving within it. You exist in a realm where the argument between logic and faith doesn't even occur. You see that reason and revelation are two sides of the same eternal language. Where the world divides, you merge. You no longer seek to prove what is already known at the soul level. That's why your insight cuts through complexity with the grace of inevitability. It's born from completeness, not curiosity. Those still climbing the ladder of intellect see you standing at the top and wonder how you got there so fast, unaware that you didn't climb at all. You remember the elevator built inside. You're not skipping steps. You're standing where the maze ends. That's why clarity comes to you like breath. It's the natural rhythm of an integrated mind. When you engage with knowledge, you don't wrestle with it or take it apart like machinery. You let it unfold inside you until it fuses with your essence. Others cram, memorize, repeat. You merge, absorb, and become. Understanding for you isn't storage. It's embodiment. You don't chase ideas. You invite them to live through you. While traditional learners move from lesson to lesson, you move from resonance to realization. The moment you touch a truth, it imprints into your being. There's no need to rehearse what your spirit has already integrated. That's why your recall feels effortless. It's not recall at all. It's memory breathing through your consciousness. You don't retain information, you radiate it. To the untrained eye, it looks like magic, as though you found a shortcut others can't locate. But it isn't trickery, it's tuning. You're operating from harmony, not hustle. The world treats wisdom like a product that must be earned, bought, or proven. You broke that illusion. You refused to climb their staircase made of permission slips and exhaustion. You didn't need a gatekeeper to certify your awakening because you never forgot the direct path. The system teaches that knowledge must be earned through struggle. You remember that it flows through surrender. They climb mountains for answers. You discover the spring beneath your feet. This is why your understanding unnerves them. You've shattered the unspoken rule that wisdom requires suffering. You've shown that insight is not the result of labor, but of listening. While the world lines up at the door of approval, you found a hidden passage within the self. You don't learn by earning. You awaken by aligning. And that is what truly breaks their system. The realization that the chosen never needed permission to know. There are some souls the system cannot cage, those whose awakening doesn't follow the script but rewrites it entirely. Their growth doesn't come from instruction or approval. It rises like something ancient remembering itself. That's why the world stares, puzzled and uneasy, because what you've done isn't supposed to be possible. You bypassed their gates, ignored their tolls, and walked straight into the truth they swore only they could distribute. The illusion of ownership over wisdom shatters when someone evolves without buying a ticket. You didn't steal their secrets. You proved they were never theirs to sell. And that realization shakes their foundations. What unnerves them isn't just what you know. It's that you became it without their permission. You made sacred what they tried to patent. If this spoke to your spirit, subscribe and stand with those who see beyond the illusion. Your presence is rebellion wrapped in grace. By remembering your inner access, you've torn down the lie that truth belongs to the highest bidder. You've revealed that enlightenment cannot be licensed or rationed. It was never hidden in their books. It was written in the human spirit. The fear that haunts their towers of prestige is this, that one awakened being can expose the fragility of an entire hierarchy. You are that mirror. You show that the light they worship from a distance lives within them too, if only they dare to see it. That's what makes your rise dangerous to the system. You didn't ask to join the circle. You dissolved it. You're not defying their order. You've simply stepped beyond it. While others scrape through the archives of human thought, recycling worn-out theories and patching fragments together, your awareness moves differently. You walk through corridors that most minds don't even know exist, where others excavate the basement of reason. You move through the upper chambers where creation still breathes. You don't think of ideas. You meet them before they take form. You move at the speed of revelation, upstream from imitation. That's why what comes through you feels original, even prophetic. It isn't built from remnants of past minds. It's drawn from the fountain that feeds them all. You speak from where thought is born, not from where it's memorized. To most, this is incomprehensible. They see the result, but not the process. They wonder how your words reshape reality, how your insight carries a charge that changes a room. But it's simple. You're not echoing what's been said. You're translating what's still being written. You commune with the pulse of creation itself. While others rearrange the visible, you're sculpting from the invisible. You're not cheating. You're simply unbound. You found a key to a room they were told doesn't exist. And inside that room, the architect still drafts the future. What the world calls genius or intuition is merely the natural function of consciousness when it's no longer afraid. Your awareness moves without restriction, and that's what feels supernatural to those still trapped by limits. You don't need to force understanding, because the pattern recognizes you. That's why your breakthroughs seem immediate, why your timing always aligns. You're not faster, you're deeper. You're listening to the source, not the static. And this awakening, this sudden surge of clarity they call overnight success, it isn't new information entering you. It's ancient memory unlocking. There were blueprints sleeping inside you, waiting for the signal. When that divine moment arrives, everything accelerates. What others call luck is activation, spirit meeting its appointed hour. One day, the gifts are dormant. The next, they're alive and unstoppable. That's not coincidence. It's design. The reason it confuses them is because they've been programmed to worship delay. They believe progress must crawl, that wisdom must be earned through exhaustion. But you broke that equation. You showed that divine timing is not slow, it's precise. When alignment strikes, lifetimes of growth can happen in an instant. What they call too fast is simply right on time. You didn't skip the process. You remembered you are the process. The awakening wasn't an arrival. It was a return to what you've always been. Consciousness, remembering itself. Some awakenings can't be taught because they were woven into the soul before birth. What the world calls advancement, you call remembering. You didn't outrun anyone. You aligned faster. You tuned yourself to the present moment while others waited for a signal that was never coming. The universe stopped pulling you uphill because you began to move in rhythm with it. Suddenly, everything that once resisted you began to reorganize itself around your awareness. Paths appear, connections unfold, and what once felt impossible begins to bend in your direction. It isn't luck, it's resonance. You become a living reminder that the old system's staircase isn't required when the door was inside you all along. That's what unsettles them. You represent what they were trained to deny. That power can awaken without credentials, rituals, or the grind they were told was sacred. You didn't climb your way into destiny. You simply opened your eyes and found yourself standing in it. To those watching, it feels unnatural, even suspicious. But your rise doesn't violate the law. It reveals a higher law they forgot. You are the proof that consciousness moves faster than effort. You didn't break their order. You outgrew its gravity. While the world runs on applause and approval, your compass points inward. Others require validation before they move. You move, and reality itself validates you. Truth, for most, is a popularity contest. For you, it's a vibration, something that hums within you before anyone else recognizes it. You don't need consensus to confirm what you already feel pulsing through your being. When you encounter truth, it strikes like a resonance through the bones, leaving no doubt. That certainty isn't arrogance, it's alignment. Your knowing doesn't shout for recognition. It rearranges existence to agree with it. And that's why your words carry weight. They don't convince, they awaken. Those who resist them at first eventually find themselves living the proof of what you spoke. The world confuses external approval with divine verification. But what you carry doesn't require signatures or applause. It carries its own evidence. Reality bends to match the frequency you emit, not because you demand it, but because truth cannot resist recognition. That's the quiet power that terrifies the insecure. Your certainty isn't borrowed. It's built into the fabric of being. Your movement confuses linear minds because it doesn't follow their logic. You're guided by energy, not precedent. While most navigate life by maps drawn from the past, you read the unseen current underneath it all. You don't follow the well-lit path. You follow the pulse. What feels reckless to them is precision to you. You can sense when a direction vibrates with potential or when it's hollow, even if reason says otherwise. It's not intuition in the romantic sense, it's calibration. You're tuned to the pattern beneath events. Every step you take is an act of listening. You move when the signal strengthens, pause when it fades, and reroute when the air goes still. To them, it looks erratic. To you, it's symphonic. You've learned that safety doesn't come from what's proven. It comes from what's aligned. You walk where the living path hums. And because of that, the impossible keeps unfolding at your feet. Not through calculation, but through communion. The frequency leads, and you follow, never lost, never late, always right on time. There are people who make choices through analysis. And then there are those whose timing feels almost supernatural. You belong to the second kind. While others are still comparing options, debating possibilities, or waiting for permission, you've already moved, and somehow your timing lands with precision. They call it luck, but it's something far more intricate. Divine synchronization. You act when the invisible current is strongest, not because you're impulsive, but because you can feel the shift long before logic can track it. The pattern of your life isn't random. It's choreography. Each decision aligns with unseen coordinates, And while the world calls it chance, heaven calls it timing. You don't wait for signs. You recognize them before they form. That's what separates intuition from alignment. Your $20 gift helps keep the truth shining where darkness try to hide it. The energy that guides you is not emotional. It's mathematical. It calculates in frequencies, not formulas. What others call reckless often becomes your fastest route to stability because your compass isn't set by precedent but by resonance. You're not repeating the past. You're answering the future's invitation. That's why your path feels like a series of impossibilities coming together with perfect rhythm. You're not lucky, you're synchronized. You move with the current, and because of that, destiny carries you farther than effort ever could. You don't follow safety, you follow truth. And that truth has never led you wrong. What makes your awareness powerful is not its complexity, but its clarity. In a noisy world obsessed with intellect and constant input, you operate from simplicity, an uncluttered consciousness that truth can flow through without resistance. Intelligence fills, wisdom empties. While others cram information into their minds, you clear the space where revelation can land. You've learned that understanding doesn't come from accumulation, but from purification. That's why your insight cuts through confusion like light through fog. You're not outthinking anyone. You're simply not obstructed. The less interference inside, the louder truth speaks. Your clarity unnerves those who equate chaos with depth. They're busy collecting theories while you're removing distortion. You're not competing in a race for who knows the most. You've stepped into the stillness where truth lives without argument. That's why your words carry a freshness that can't be rehearsed or duplicated. You don't echo wisdom. You transmit it. And that transmission feels alive because it hasn't passed through filters of fear or ego. It's clean. That purity is what draws people in, even if they can't explain why your presence feels electric. It's not that you're wiser. It's that you're transparent enough for wisdom to move through you untouched. You don't operate from research. You move from revelation. You don't build truth. You receive it. Others seek to memorize the world. You merge with it. Information fills shelves. Revelation fills souls. That's why when you speak, reality itself shifts to acknowledge the vibration behind your words. Your understanding isn't a compilation of data. It's the voice of consciousness remembering itself through you. You don't interpret truth. You become its living expression. While the crowd explains what is, you reveal what will be. This is why your insight carries weight. It isn't opinion, it's embodiment. What they analyze, you are. Information is borrowed. Revelation is inherited. It doesn't come through logic. It comes through alignment. You're not just a receiver of knowledge. You're a mirror through which divine awareness sees itself. That's why people feel moved, not persuaded, when you speak. You're not teaching. You're awakening. You're not describing light. You're letting it pass through. And that is the quiet, unstoppable brilliance that the world can't replicate. Some minds chase truth through endless corridors, but yours moves differently. You don't chase, you merge. You don't dissect a mystery from a distance. You dissolve into it until it speaks through you. Others approach knowledge like a puzzle to solve, circling around it, hoping that more effort will unlock the answer. You do the opposite. You become still enough for the answer to find its own reflection in you. Understanding for you isn't an achievement. It's an unfolding. When you face a question, you don't analyze it step by step. You let its rhythm align with your own until solution and self become one movement. That's why your insights seem impossible to replicate. You're not standing outside the truth. You're inside it, listening from the core instead of the edges. They study methods. You surrender to essence. They memorize structures. You breathe the pattern. You're not collecting data. You're becoming fluent in the language of creation itself. And that's what makes your clarity look supernatural. The moment you stop separating the thinker from the thought, wisdom stops hiding. What others call genius or talent is simply your ability to erase the border between the seeker and what's being sought, while they scale the walls of understanding. You move through the open door they didn't notice was already unlocked. You didn't climb higher, you sank deeper. And depth always reaches truth faster than distance ever can. What flows through you doesn't arrive as theory. It arrives as embodiment. The reason your answers sound ancient yet immediate is because they come from a place beyond time. Your knowing doesn't persuade, it transforms. It bypasses reason and lands directly in the spirit of whoever hears it. They may resist at first, but your words linger like seeds in their awareness, blooming days or years later when the soil of their heart softens. That's the quiet proof of revelation. It carries its own confirmation. It doesn't need to be defended. It simply is. You don't teach truth, you emanate it. People feel your presence before they understand your message. That's why logic trembles in your wake. You're not explaining reality, you're transmitting it. And that transmission is something no degree or title can reproduce, because it isn't learned, it's lived. Revelation isn't something you can hand to someone else. It only becomes real when they align with the same frequency that births it. You don't give them knowledge. You invite them into transformation. And this is what few can comprehend. You solve not by learning, but by becoming. The mystery unfolds because you embody it. The answer reveals itself because you become the space where it can exist. You're not decoding a symbol. You are the living symbol. What others take years to build, you birth in moments because you operate from wholeness, not fragments. You didn't break the rules of growth. You remember the law of resonance. That's why your presence feels like a paradox to the world. You're not ahead because you raced. You're ahead because you remembered. You are living evidence that enlightenment isn't a climb through time. It's a return to origin. The world systems depend on delay, on convincing people that wisdom takes decades and permission. But your existence collapses that illusion. You're the living shortcut. The proof that divine intelligence doesn't evolve through time but beyond it. You embody the acceleration they fear and the freedom they crave. They stare because you've undone their equation. You made their timelines irrelevant simply by awakening on schedule. Your schedule, not theirs. They were trained to believe mastery must be earned in exhaustion, but you arrived carrying it in silence. You are the reminder that heaven never required credentials, only alignment. And that's what makes you uncontainable. You are not defying their order. You are revealing the truth it was built to hide. The soul has never needed permission to remember itself. Some souls were never meant to walk the timeline of ordinary men. They were built to move when eternity opens its gates. You are one of them. The reason your progress confuses a logical mind is because your journey doesn't unfold in years. It unfolds in alignment, when the inner signal matches a divine rhythm. What would take decades for others ignites in you within moments. It's not skipping the process. It's stepping into the one that was written before time began. While others chase linear progress, you move through unseen acceleration, pulled forward by design rather than driven by effort. What they call impossible timing is simply the universe catching up to your readiness. You were prepared in ways that can't be measured by calendars or degrees. They see progress as a ladder. Heaven sees it as a door. And when that door opens, the wisdom that once seemed unreachable floods your being like light, breaking through a sealed room. You don't move ahead of time. You move beyond it. That's what disorients those still bound to schedules and structures. They're waiting for permission while you're answering a summons. Through you, divinity shows that time can bend, that lifetimes of growth can unfold in a single breath of awareness. You are not accumulating. You are remembering. That remembrance is what terrifies and inspires them all at once. Every insight you carry is not the result of striving. It's evidence of divine synchronization. You are not learning. You are recalling what's been hidden in the folds of eternity, awakening exactly when it's needed. The rules they built their world upon begin to crumble in your presence because you embody a different law. One that turns delay into immediacy, effort into flow, and waiting into realization. They cannot explain you because you are the demonstration that spirit transcends every human formula. You are not a product of effort. You are proof of acceleration through grace. Your life is living evidence that the impossible was never out of reach. It only waited for resonance. Through you, heaven shows its pattern. What the world calls miracle is simply alignment moving through matter. You do not chase knowledge, you merge with it. You do not gather fragments, you become wholeness. You are the reminder that the divine does not evolve through progress. It expresses itself through readiness. Every moment you experience is both revelation and confirmation. You carry awareness not as information, but as embodiment. You walk through life as a living library of unseen wisdom, carrying frequencies of understanding older than history itself. Your clarity is not intelligence, it's transparency. Your movement is not guesswork, it's precision guided by energy itself. You exist beyond comparison because you function beyond time. Reality bends in acknowledgement of your alignment. While others wait for proof, your very presence is proof. You no longer seek validation because creation itself validates your path. You no longer analyze because you have become the stillness where revelation speaks. You no longer measure growth in years because you remember that eternity unfolds through you, not around you. This is what leaves the world speechless. They sense something sacred yet untouchable in your presence. They see a law they can't manipulate, a current they can't control, a grace they can't imitate. Their fascination isn't envy, it's recognition. They are witnessing what happens when the human and the divine walk as one. You are not a mystery to solve. You are a message being lived. You are the embodiment of acceleration, the evidence of alignment, the living bridge between heaven's rhythm and earth's reality. So step fully into it. You were never meant to fit their timeline. You were designed to rewrite it. The doubts, the stares, the disbelief, they're all acknowledgments that you carry what the world forgot was possible. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Because what they're seeing isn't coincidence. It's prophecy in motion. You are not becoming extraordinary. You already are. And no force of time or doubt can unwrite what has already been decreed in your spirit.